Okay, guys, we'll go ahead and start. So I'm your instructor. I'm Dr. Alan Hope, but you can call me Alan. The degree is just something people get. I mean, I'm not really a respecter or a disrespecter of degrees. It's just a bunch of letters you put in front of your name that means you're supposed to know something. Some people do, some people don't. Some people don't have a degree that actually know quite a bit. So I'm actually not impressed by all that stuff. I'm more impressed by what the person actually knows. Anyway, let's talk about the course a little bit. First, we'll talk about these Zoom meetings. This class, if I keep looking down, that's because the camera's up a little bit higher, so it always looks like I'm looking down. I'm actually not reading notes because I do this without notes. I teach 3 sections of this class and they're all the same. And when we have a Zoom meeting, there's one Zoom meeting for all 3 classes. Now, because it's an online class, the Zoom meetings, you can have them and have them at a set time because you can't really require somebody to be there. So we have 7 during the course of the semester. It says that on the home page in Canvas. It has the dates, it has the links. Attend if you can. If you cannot, then these Zoom meetings are recorded and posted in the modules section for you to view at your own convenience. Because there are some things I go over in the Zoom meetings, like hints on the tests and that kind of stuff. Now, if you're in I sent an email or a message to everybody in section 71 that is trying to register for the ebook. For some reason, the ebook link doesn't work. I've been in contact with the LMS integration team, not people at Valley, the book people. They're working on it. So within a day or 2, you'll be able to go to the modules section, click on the free ebook registration and register for the ebook. Crystal says, nice to meet you. Or Kaylee, nice to meet you too. Nice to meet everybody. Yes, this is not my house. I wish it was. It's just a virtual background. So we'll talk. So the Zoom meetings, the next one I think is 3 weeks from now. Try to attend them if you can. If you can't, like I said, they're recorded and posted in the modules section. So the first thing I'm going to do, well, at the end of each of these Zoom meetings, there's a little 3-question quiz, which you should get 100% on. I gave you 3 numbers and you just enter those numbers, enter the quiz, and then you get your 100%. It will show that. Now, so if you miss one of the meetings, then sometime during the week, you need to watch the Zoom meeting and get the 3-question quiz and take it. Now, the assignments are set up by the week, by modules. The modules are weeks. So this class began at midnight last night, this module, and it ends Sunday at midnight. So in other words, you have this entire week to complete the assignments for this week. And I'll do a screen share and show you kind of how it's not that difficult. You may look at it and say, wow, there's a lot of assignments. There's not near as many as you think. Some of them are very simple. A bunch of them are bonus assignments. People that do the work generally make good grades. I had a lot of A's during the summer because they completed the work. I have bonus assignments. Now, the tests are open book and open notes, but they're timed. I think I gave you 100 minutes for each of the tests. There's 100 questions. That sounds like a lot, but it's not that bad because they're A, B, C, D, true, false. No short answer, no essay, none of that kind of stuff. The tests are made from the study guides. And I'm going to do a screen share right now to kind of show you. So you'll be able to see what's on my screen. Right now, you're just looking at a big white page called Zoom. So I'm going to go to this class. Those are the announcements. It says section 70. That's fine. All three sections are the same. So whatever section you go to, when you first open the class, you're going to be at the home page, which is also called the syllabus page. And there's information here. There's a syllabus if you want to print it out. You don't have to. You can view it online. There's several formats for printing it out. I know computer programming, HTML and CSS. That's why I'm able to construct a website like this. But if you get too confused, you can say, "Wow, that's a lot of stuff. What are the things I need to remember?" So when you open up the home page, if you don't remember anything else, now this is in instructor view, so you can't see everything I'm seeing. You're in student view, but you can see the modules over here on the left. That's where all the assignments, everything is. If you don't click any other assignment, but any other tab but modules, you can get to everything through there. So I'm going to click modules. This is where you register for the ebook. You click this and it tells you how to register for it. But in section 71, you can't, and the links don't work. If you're in section 71, hang in there. I'm going to get it taken care of by tomorrow. So you'll be able to register. If you registered through Macmillan and didn't do it this way, you might do it again because I'm not sure exactly how that works. You just have to follow the instructions. Click Achieve ebook. Now, so the book, you need the book to work the study guides, and you can use the book and the study guides on the test. But the test, 95% of it comes from the study guides. The hardest part of this class is working the study guides. And the study guides are in each module. So let's go down. So module 1, that's this week, right here. Only the assignments that have points listed have a grade. For example, no grade, no grade, just a date, no grade. Grade, 15 points. There's a lot of points in this class. That's not 15 out of 100. It says Conference Zoom video quiz number 1. That's what you're going to take tonight. It's going to take you 1 minute to take it because I'm going to give you 3 numbers. I'm going to give you the first one right now. So if you got a pen or pencil, write this down. The first code is 434. Okay, so write down 434. Halfway through the meeting, I'll give you the second. And at the end of the meeting, I'll give you the third, and I'll show you how to take that little test. So you can start off with 100% in this class. But there's a graded discussion right here. It's worth 20 points. If you click on that, it's just an intro. Follow the instructions, turn it in. That's worth 20 points, but that's the discussion, which means you don't get an automatic grade. I actually have to read it and then assign the grades. And I do that the Monday following. So it'll be a week from today because everybody has till Sunday night to complete that. So that one, that's all this do this week. This, which you'll do tonight, and then this. But these 2 study guides you can start working on for the first test. You click on it, you can download it. You'll say you want to download it, downloads it as a Word format. But all the study guides, you say, well, do I have to wait till the second week to get to these study guides? No, because if you scroll, if you want to work some of them ahead of time, if you scroll all the way down to the end of the module section, there's PowerPoints. You can look at them if you want. You don't have to. You can use them on the test. But, oh, here they are. Way down here in module 24. All these study guides can be printed out and worked on now. It looks like a lot of them, and there are, but I set up in Comfort Zoom over here. It'll tell you that on the home page. Let me see what I say about it. Let me go back to the home page because it's different for this summer course. Okay. Don't let all this confuse you. Where is it? Optional Zoom meetings. We're in one tonight. click here, it'll show you the dates of the next ones. But optional weekly students conference Zoom meetings, additional information, click here. So I'm going to click here. And these are every Wednesday from 3 to 5. And they are open, well, it'll just be this, it opens each class. So everybody in this class, these are optional. You can go to them and they're for you to work on the study guides together. So how do you get to those? Well, on Wednesday at 3, and I think they're actually open all the time, to be honest with you. I think you could probably go to Thursday and click on it. It would probably open. It might open at 2. I think it's constantly open. I'm not really sure, but if you go over here on the left, there is what is called they used to call it Confer Zoom. I wonder if they changed the name now. Let me see if I can find it. Huh. They may have taken that out. I'll have to double check on that. I don't actually see that. Hold on a second. I wonder if it got put down here. Give me 1 second. Maybe they just call it Zoom now. And they changed that from even this summer. That surprises me because I was not actually aware of that. Okay, it's actually no big deal, but let me go back to the class. So what I would recommend is if you go to some of these tabs over here under student view people, there's a people tab. Can you guys see, can you see a people tab in yours? I think you can. Anybody see that? Somebody say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay. If you click on that, that shows all the people in this class and their emails. You can also go to chat and you can chat with anybody in the class. And that's what I would recommend. You can get a hold of other people in this class. You can chat, you can use people, you can use their emails, all kinds of things, and work on the study guides together. Now, when I say together, I wouldn't work on the same study guide together. What I would do is just say, hey, I'll do these 2 study guides. Somebody else say, I'll do these 2, you do these 2. And that way you don't have to do them all because it takes a long time to do them all. But remember, when you're working the study guides, you're almost working the test because you take the test. The questions are the same. You have to, but you're going to need the ebook to look at the answers, write them on the study guide, and then you can use the book and the study guide on the test, but mainly the study guide will help. People that have their study guides done do well on the test. So let's go back to modules. Remember, if you get lost, go to modules. You say, okay, when is test number 1? I don't think it's actually until week number 5, week 4, week 5, week 6. Yeah, there you go, week 6. Not until the week of the 19th to the 25th of September. There it is. So it's chapters 1 through 3 study guides and what is called Spotlight A and B study guides. So that's 5 study guides. I'd start working on them, get them done, get them out of the way. And then a couple of weeks later, we have another test. 3 weeks later, test number 2. And it's chapters 4 through 6. So those study guides 4, 5, and 6, and these 2 study guides. And once, just get as many done as you can, get them out of the way, get with other students. That way you don't have to do them all. I mean, theoretically, if everybody in this class got together, each person could do one study guide. You could literally do it that way. And then you email them to each other, text them to each other. Email them is probably the best way, and just print them out. I don't care. That's fine. That's not cheating. That's just, you know, using your brain to actually do that. That's the hardest part of the class, is doing the study guides. That's it, because the tests are not difficult. Once you have the study guide to go, oh wow, there's a question right there. There's the answer. Now, on your study guide, and you just look it up. A lot of this you can actually look up on the internet. So you look at module 1, and this is what's due. Module 2 doesn't open until Sunday at midnight. So you can't work on any of these until next week, but you get everything done this week. And that's good. And if you have extra time, then work on the study guides. Now your grades, if you go to grades, it'll keep up with your grades. This is everybody in this class. There's no grades yet. Oh, somebody's already done their intro, which is good. These little pages mean it's done. And if you do what you're supposed to do, I'll give you all 20 points. And then this conference Zoom was which is 15. You'll be able to get that tonight. And that'll give you percentages. The grades will all be in percentages. Now, there are bonus assignments. This says out of 0.1, but it's actually worth 25 points. And this is actually worth 20 points. It says 0.05. Don't get hung up on that. Sound bonus points, it says 0.24, but it's actually worth 24. Those are little sound clips you can find throughout the website. The reason I put them in there is just to encourage people to navigate through the website and click on the sound and say, hey, I know that. I know what movie or who that is. And then you can go to that quiz, enter it, and then it'll say, when I look at it, it'll say 1 or 2. That means you got 1 or 2 right. It'll say 0.1 or 0.2, but I'll change it to a 1 or a 2. I had to give these point values, otherwise they wouldn't show up. If you don't do any of these, there's bonus, then you'll still get, at the end of the class, you'll get 0.24, because otherwise it would count against you. These 2 are open the entire class. This one's about water memory. This is a real old movie, 30 years old. It's about the movie. It's called The Movie Alive. They took it off YouTube, so this is actually now a documentary, but it's about cannibalism. Now, it's not like you think of where they kill people. It's about where people are forced to eat people that have died. Like the point of that is to try to emphasize. It's very dramatic to emphasize actually how long you can go without food. And they're forced to in this situation. It's a really interesting movie. It's a great movie, but it's like a 30-year-old movie. But that's bonus, and those are in modules 21 and 22. If you go to modules at the very bottom, you can do that whenever you want. Now, it's not just watching the movie. They ask you a few very simple questions at the end that if you answer all of them, you get a certain percentage of points. If you answer them all right, you get 100%. Or if it's 25 points, you'll get, you give this so many. Even if you get 1 out of 10 right, it doesn't count against you. It's still bonus points. So there's no way it could possibly lower your grade. So that's kind of the format for the class, is that you'll check with the module section and just say, okay, what do I have to complete this week? Say, oh, this thing, which we're doing tonight, and then this. And say, okay, next week, I can't really do anything yet, except we have one of these little videos, and there's a bonus thing right here, 25 bonus. That's only open for a week. That is worth it. You say, well, it's worth 0.1 points. It's actually worth 25. I had to assign a grade to it. You have to click on it, read it, see what it says, do it. And then it opens next week on Monday, closes on Sunday. I think you'll find it's well worth your time. Let me click on this real quick, because I have access. You have access to it too from the homepage. It tells you 25 bonus points possible. It's about vitamins and minerals. Downloadable. No, view it online. Click here. Some of you may have already looked at this. This is extensive. Talks about vitamins. They have little clips, little short videos. What are they, etc. You click on that. The difference between synthetic and natural. It talks about that. But You will not find anything like this on the internet. Google, anywhere, WebMD, nothing. These are all the vitamins. Now, you say, well, I've never heard of vitamin S. It's not a recognized vitamin, but it tells you which ones are the red or 13 that are recognized by the books. And then others have been associated with vitamins that, although they're technically not classified as one. For example, you can say, I never heard of vitamin P. Never heard of it. So click on vitamin P and it'll tell you about it right there. There's a little thing there, but there's a little video about what it is. Vitamin P, and then this is what it is. It talks about it a little bit. Any vitamin you're interested in, for example, it has the common ones like vitamin E, alpha tocopherol. There's several types of vitamin E. Vitamin D, there's 5 types. D1, D2, D3 is the kind you get at the store, but there's actually more types than that. And so I never heard of vitamin D5. What is that? Click on vitamin D5. D5. It's very short. It talks about what it is. But on this bonus assignment, I think you have to pick out 1 or 2 vitamins, watch the video, make a few comments about it, etc. And then the minerals assignments too. So minerals. So I go back to the modules. We're talking about next week. I'm getting ahead of myself. So that's this assignment right here. Vitamin or mineral document. You have to read about it and see. I think you'll find it very interesting. Some of this stuff is, nutrition is to a lot of people very confusing, and they get mixed up on it. Now, I do occasionally have students that figure out how to get, go back to the home page, go back to grades. They'll say, hey, these sound bonus points, like where are they located? All over. So go back to the home page, and if you're scrolling through your home page, not that one, but this one right here. Say, whoa, I can play this sound. I'm not going to do it. You can do it. You say, hey, that's from a movie. But even if you don't remember the name of the movie, just tap in the sound on the internet. It'll tell you. You say, hi, I know that one. Say, I want to get a point for that. Click here. It'll take you to the sound bonus quiz. There's 20 or 19 questions, or 20, 19 or 20, I don't remember. Because you can take it 19 or 20 times. So you don't have to know all of them at once. You can say, I know that one. Click here, take it, enter that one, and then just submit. And then you'll notice, wait, hey, I got 1 out of so many. And there's like 5 or 6 choices, maybe more than that for each one. Occasionally I have some smart students that say, hey, if I can take this quiz 19 times, I'm not even going to listen to the sounds. I'm just going to go to the quiz, and I'm going to enter every first answer. I don't know if it's A, B, C, D, or I don't know if they number them like that. I'm just going to, on all 19 questions, I'm just going to put the first answer. And then they'll click grade it, and they might get 4 or 5 correct. And they'll say, okay, now I'm going to take it again. And they write down the ones they got correct. And I'm going to enter every second answer, except the ones I got correct that I should enter the first answer on. And I enter the first answer again, which those will be graded correctly. And I have it graded again. And all the ones that are the second answer will now be graded correct. And I write those down. And you could literally go, you literally get all 24 points by doing it that way. You might have to do it 6 or 7 times, but that's okay. Students figure that out. But some don't do it even after I tell them. Let me show you real quick. For example, here's the quiz. Click here. Here it is. Graded sound bonus quiz. And then if you go to, I have to go to preview. Yours might be a little bit different. It talks about it. See, here are all the choices. I'm going to click the first one. I'm going to click the first one. I'm going to click the first one. I'm going to click the first one, and then you click submit at the bottom, it'll grade it. And you're out of 20, you probably get 4 or 5 right. Then you take it again, write down the ones you got right, pick the second one. That's kind of cheating, but not really. People figure it out, or they can, because there's 24 of them located all over the website. You click on different areas, all of a sudden it will say sound bonus quiz. You listen to it, you know the sound, take the quiz. And that has nothing to do with nutrition, but I put them in there just to simply encourage people to navigate the website and read a little bit about nutrition. And then out of nowhere, they kind of pop up a little bit. So I'm gonna, on the meetings, go to modules. If you miss a meeting, and the people missing it tonight, it is being recorded, and then I'm going to post it right here. Recorded Zoom meetings from the spring of 20, no, that's not spring of 2022. Oh, here it is. Summer 22 and fall 22 Zoom meetings. So I click that. And a lot of these, there's already some meetings in here. So for tonight, August 15th, 2022, if I click on that, nothing's in here. There's going to be a link to YouTube. Upload them to my YouTube channel. You can watch it there. You can watch it. This link will take you to actually the Zoom website, which is transcribed on the right in written language. But I actually download the meeting, tweak it. I know how to do video editing, and actually just put the video right here. Let me find one where I actually did a meeting. So we're August 15th. I think I had one on July 12th. Yeah. So there's the link to YouTube. There's the link to the Zoom meeting. It's the same meeting, whichever way. And there's the actual meeting. If you click on that, you can watch that meeting. And sometimes these older meetings, they have the same information as you have in these meetings. But if you miss this meeting and need the codes, they're going to be right there. They're probably in some of these other meetings too, because the tests are the same. So the next meeting we have is August 30th. That's a Tuesday. So still, it's 2 weeks away. If you miss that one, you click that, August 30th, it'll be posted here, all of that. So you've got that week to take that little test. And this is in the modules section. And I even put some older ones in here. Previous recorded Zoom meetings, I got all kinds of them. And so, I mean, a lot of them say the same thing, but this is the one for this class in my summer classes. So if you miss that, like tonight, I'll probably do it tomorrow morning. You have to download it, know how to tweak it, and add a little intro and stuff like that. So I'm going to end the screen share. And on these meetings, if you have a question, you can interrupt me at any time. I'm not that formal. You just blurt it out. That's fine. Like I said, the class is not difficult. It's just the study guides are the hardest part, and that's just, looking up answers in the book. I've taught nutrition for many years at Valley. I'm retired from the Cal State Northridge, or Cal State system. I was taught at Cal State Northridge. I've taught anatomy and physiology, kinesiology, health, maybe even you name it, I've taught it. But nutrition, to me, is my favorite area, because it's the one that's it's very misunderstood by most people that are extremely ignorant on nutrition. Now, don't call somebody ignorant, you get in a fight. Ignorant doesn't mean you're stupid. Ignorant just means you don't know. That's totally different than stupid. If somebody says you're ignorant in speaking French, I'd agree, because I don't know any French, but I'm not stupid. But most people are ignorant about nutrition, including medical doctors. Not all, quite a few know, most don't. They know medicine, but they do not know nutrition. I grew up in a medical family. My dad is a retired doctor. I have a brother that's a dermatologist. He says, yeah, they don't teach you any of this in nutrition. Only 1 in 4 medical classes have a nutrition class. Now, they know anatomy, and they know the anatomy of the stomach and the intestines and the enzymes. I don't spend much time on that because this is not an anatomy class. This is nutrition, not anatomy. So I don't care about knowing the processes of how carbohydrates are digested and absorbed inside of a cell. That's interesting to know, and I know it. But that's not really the focus of the class. That's more like cellular biology. I'm more interested in the broad picture of nutrition. And people, you've heard the phrase, you can't see the forest because of the trees, or you can't see the trees because of the forest. I don't know which way it goes. In other words, people they can't see the big picture of nutrition because they're focused on just one little aspect of it. And that's where the confusion comes in about what is healthy, what is not healthy. And just because it's in a book or on the TV, or your doctor told you, or a registered dietitian told you, or I told you, doesn't make it correct. You need to find out for yourself, because there's a lot of bad information out there, a lot of bad information, even from people that are supposed to know about nutrition. I'm really surprised at some of the advice that people give, even on things like diabetes. Which, my gosh, if you're going to give somebody advice about nutrition on diabetes and you're an MD, I know what you're talking about. And most do, some don't. And let me give you an example of this. All the myths out there and misconceptions and myths are okay, and misconceptions, if they're like fairy tales and don't harm anybody, but some of these actually harm people. And parents, they become misinformed and they have their kids eat a certain way. They think it's being healthy. It's actually damaging them. It's making them more unhealthy. So some of these myths, for example, that are still out there, people still believe it. Somebody wants to learn more about diabetes. Oh, we'll go a lot into diabetes and cancer and things of that nature. But I'll start with the biggest myth that you've been brainwashed with over and over. And they still do it. But then you'll find some stuff on the internet, unless they take it down. And sometimes on the internet, if they don't agree with it, they take it down, especially YouTube. Doesn't mean it's right. Just because they took it down because they disagreed with it. Just because they took it down doesn't mean they're the arbiters of truth. Nobody is, including me. But the biggest myth is, they say, what's the most important meal of the day? People are going to tell you breakfast. That's just a bunch of nonsense. People that tell you that, they may actually believe it. It's just such an ignorant statement. It's just mind-boggling how people just fall into line, just believe whatever they're told. They research this. They know where that came from. They know where this myth started. And it started back in the 1700s. Back in the 1700s, teachers noticed that kids that had breakfast, they did better in classwork, they were healthier, they behaved better, they just did better all around. And the kids that didn't have breakfast, they didn't do as well, they didn't pay attention as well, they were less healthy. That's true. So they made the assumption that they need breakfast because it was healthy and you needed it for performance or whatever. But the problem is, in a lot of areas, is a lack of understanding of correlation versus cause effect. That's only a correlation. You can correlate anything with anything. Doesn't mean one causes the other. It may mean there's a little cause, but a lot of times there's no cause. There's just a correlation. What they found out later from this study was that the reason kids did better had nothing to do with the breakfast. Back in the 1700s, if the kids had breakfast, their parents had money, and because money was tough back then. And if their parents had money, then their parents could afford proper housing. They could afford doctors. They could afford books. These kids had all the advantages that the other kids didn't have, and one of those was money to have breakfast. So they had breakfast. But the reason they actually were healthier and did better were the other things. not breakfast. It was just a trait of those group of people. And that has gone passed down to this age where parents will say, oh, kids need to eat breakfast because they do better at school, they're more alert. That's actually nonsense. Food does not give you energy immediately. If you pay attention to your body after you eat a full meal, you do not have more energy. You feel like sleeping. Hormones are released that induce sleep. All animals in the wild do this. They eat a lot, you're full, you want to go to sleep. You eat at night, food comas, what somebody said, that's kind of what it is. That's why it's hard to go to sleep when you're hungry. But when you're full, it's easy to go to sleep because your metabolism kind of revs down a little bit, and you feel full and satiated, etc. Now, it does raise your glucose level, and that'll give you a little bit more energy. But technically, you don't have more energy after you eat breakfast. And maybe those kids do better on tests and perform better simply because their parents are conscientious and they believe that breakfast makes them healthier. But those parents also do other things. They study with them, take them to the doctor, etc. It has really nothing to do with the breakfast. They just tend to be more conscientious. Other parents that don't feed their kids breakfast may actually believe that breakfast will help them, but they don't care, so they don't feed them anyway breakfast. But then they don't do other things, take care of them, have them study and everything else, so they don't do as well. And once again, that doesn't have to do with the breakfast. That's just the characteristic of a group of people. It's only correlation. It's not cause effect. In nutrition, they try to establish cause effect and promote it like there's a correlation. They try to make it a cause effect. The vitamin industry does this all the time. People that take vitamin C have less colds, they're less severe, they last half as long. That's true. It has nothing to do with the vitamin C though. It's just that people that take vitamin C for colds or vitamins in general tend to be health conscious because they're thinking about vitamins. And so they probably work out, don't eat too much, take care of themselves. That's why they have less colds, and colds are not as sick as much. It's not the fact that they took the vitamin. It's just a trait of those characteristics of people. Don't confuse, and there's nothing wrong with it either. We'll get more into vitamins, etc. But there's just such a misconception out there. That's only saying breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It's like saying when is the most important time of the day to put gas in your car? In the morning? It's ridiculous. It's when it's empty. There's no meal more or less important than any other meal. The time of the day you eat is irrelevant. Now, maybe you need a little breakfast or a pick-me-up, that's fine. But if you tend to eat a full breakfast, a full dinner, a full lunch and a full dinner, that's too many calories during the day. That's too much food. The problem with our society is too much food, even worldwide. Not lack of food, too much food. And it's the opposite of what you see on TV. Because if they show a bunch of overweight kids, nobody's going to donate. If they show a bunch of starving kids in a third world country, people donate to it because the other doesn't get sympathy. But there's actually more of a problem with diabetes and cancer and obesity now, even worldwide, than there is starvation. Starvation does occur. It's rare. It does occur, especially in war-torn countries, etc. But more people die of other things rather than starvation. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but it's blown out of proportion compared to other things. And that's just one of the many myths. Kids should never be forced to eat when they're not hungry. Never. Nor should adults. That's child abuse. Forcing somebody to eat when they're not hungry is child abuse, and it damages the body. I don't care if your kid looks like a rail and they're thin, or maybe they're overweight. That has more to do with heredity than nutrition. 90% of your weight, even as an adult, is determined by heredity, not how much you eat. It's genetics. Now, how much you eat affects it. It'd be stupid to say it doesn't, but it's more determined by heredity, just like how tall you are. You can't eat a certain way to make yourself taller or shorter. You can't do it. The same thing with nutrition. It's pretty much set when you're born. If heredity says you're going to be overweight as an adult, you're going to be overweight as an adult. Now, can you be normal weight? Yes, but you may have to work really, really hard to do it. Whereas somebody else, they don't have to worry about it because heredity has determined that they're not going to be overweight. But studies show that even if you're thin as an adult and you overeat, even though you don't gain the weight because of heredity, you're not getting by with it. You suffer more diabetes, more heart attacks, and more strokes, just like an overweight person. So just because you stay thin, don't assume you can get by with overeating. That's like, you can't judge somebody just by weight. You could be somewhat overweight and be healthy, just like you can be thin and be unhealthy. You're thin, smoke all the time, do drugs, but you're thin, but doesn't mean you're healthy. It's just, we judge too much by looks on health, and it's much deeper than that. And we do that with kids too, and kids don't understand. Most kids are overweight because of heredity, but kids are brutal. They blame themselves, and parents are brutal. Oh, you're overweight, so you can't have extra food or whatever. I saw that at the grocery store, they wouldn't let the kid buy candy. Their mother got all over him because he was a little bit overweight. The guy's like 6 years old, and his mother was overweight. And she's like, no, you can't have candy, you're overweight. She tells him that, and the kid doesn't know what to say. A smart kid would look at her and say, I'm overweight because of the crappy genetics you gave me, not because of what I eat. That's closer to the truth. No kid's gonna say that, but that's actually closer to the truth. And parents don't understand that. When you should eat is when you're actually hungry. That's a hormone. The main hormone hunger is ghrelin. You don't need to know that. Ghrelin will tell you when it's time to eat. Ghrelin is only at an appreciable level in the bloodstream after about 12 hours, maybe 18 hours in between meals. So if you eat a full lunch, there's no way you can be hungry at 6 o'clock. If you are hungry, then the proper terminology would be you have an appetite. Appetite is psychological. Hunger is physiological. There are hormones involved. And the more time you go without eating, the more hungry you are. The ghrelin level rises, etc. People confuse those terms all the time. Appetite, hunger, and starvation. Appetite can come on at any time. You can eat a donut, 2 donuts, and at least me, and like 5 minutes later, ooh, I want another donut. That's all appetite. Hunger, 12 to 18 hours. Really, you haven't eaten 12 to 18 hours. You have true hunger. That's a real sort of hormonal thing. Actually, there's hundreds of hormones, but the main one's ghrelin. Starvation is a term that should never be used. If you don't eat for 6 weeks, not days, then you can say, I'm starving, because that implies death, probably. You could probably, a normal weight person can go 2 months before they starve to death. But some really weird things are going to start happening after 6 weeks. I'm not recommending that, but people have actually gone that long, 6 weeks. So if you don't eat all day, and the next day you eat, you say, I'm starving because I didn't eat the day before. Believe it or not, you're not. You're just extremely hungry. Yet I know people that eat early and then by supper, they say, I'm starving. They go straight from appetite to starving. They skip the hunger one. It's ridiculous. And hunger is a good thing. It's a hormone. It's natural that we have it. And you don't need to suppress it every time it presents itself. It's ridiculous to suppress hunger every time you feel hungry. It's a hormone. We're humans. Control your hormones. We have anger, hormones involved with anger. You get angry at somebody, you just don't pull out a gun and shoot them or ram your car into them, although some people do that. You control your anger hormones. Hormones involved with sleep. You don't fall asleep in the middle of the day, in the middle of work or class, or while you're driving, because it could kill you. You kind of suppress those hormones up to a point. Eventually, you can't suppress sleep hormones. You'll be forced to fall asleep. Sex is a hormone. Testosterone and estrogen, they come and go. Sex drive comes and goes. You don't give into it every time it presents itself. We would be like monkeys in a zoo. So when hunger presents itself, you don't need to suppress it right away. Yet there's all these things. Oh, we got to stamp out hunger. We got to have a hunger drive. We got to have a suppression of hunger. That's a lack of understanding of nutrition. Starvation is different. Yeah, you need to deal with starvation. but not hungry. You deal with hunger over time. And we'll get more into why that is and how it's this business of 3 meals a day is made up, it's man-made, there's no physiological basis for it. When I taught anatomy and physiology, we used cadavers. I pointed out 6 organs in the human body that tell us the correct way to eat. Way back, like our ancestors used to eat, when there was a lot of food, they catch an animal or kill it and grow crops. They'd eat a whole bunch. They'd go a long period of time, there was no food. And then they would eat a bunch, and then long period of time and no food. We're actually designed to eat that way. Animals are designed to eat that way. That's why we have fat cells. That's why we have a gallbladder. That's why our intestines are the way they are. And we've kind of suppressed that now. And it's caused a lot of problems with, especially diabetes and cancer and autoimmune diseases. There's all kinds of studies and linkage that actually show that. I've had parents tell me, "Oh well, I've worked all day, and my kids have been playing all day, and I feed them lunch, and they go, I'm not even hungry." Well, then don't force them to eat. Well, then they're going to want to eat at 2 in the afternoon and say, "Well, you're bigger than they are. Don't let them eat at 2." So that way, when dinner comes around, they haven't eaten all day, their hunger levels are so high, then they actually like what you make. Because the more hungry you are, the more different things you will like. And that's the proper way to eat, not the time of the day. You can have breakfast, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with having it or not having it. But the problem with eating 3 meals a day at the same time every day is you get psychologically, you get dependent on that. And then you skip a meal, or you're an hour late for a meal, and the very first symptom is a headache. I can tell you a lot about somebody's lifestyle. If they tell me they skip a meal and they get a headache, they're a total glucose addict. How much is your glucose drop in one meal? Maybe a few points? That should not trigger a headache. But in some people it does. The migraines, they're real. I'm not saying they're not real. It's because they're so used to it. It's an addiction. It's like withdrawal. It's just like an alcoholic. They check them into the hospital because they're going to die from their alcoholism. The first symptom is a headache. Drug addiction, the first symptom coming off of it is massive migraine headaches. And that affects the rest of your body because the brain affects the rest of you. So your friends in rehab, in the hospital for alcohol. And so they're going through withdrawal. They're shaking, they got headaches, they're sweating, they don't feel good. I know how to help them out. I'll sneak them in a beer. They have the beer, headache goes away, they quit shaking. All I did was cure the symptoms of alcoholism, but I made the disease worse. You have to do that with glucose. Eating every day at the same time every day develops an addiction. And people have a hard time skipping a meal or not eating for a day, etc. And it causes damage. And one of the main things is, guys, we don't have too much longer to go. We have maybe 15 more minutes. So hang in there. I'm going to give you the second code. And so write this down. The second code is 233. First code is 434. Second code is 233. I'll give you the third code here in a minute. And I'll show you how to take the little quiz at the end. There's just so much I could go into about the misunderstanding on nutrition. It's just one of the things. When I taught an anatomy class at Cal State in Northridge, and I had a young man sitting in the front, African-American guy, really nice guy, but he's probably 100 pounds overweight, big, thick glasses. I could tell this is not nutrition, just anatomy. And he had narcolepsy, so he kept falling asleep during the class because it was an 8 o'clock class. And he asked to stick around after class and talk to me one day. So I did. And he said, well, I've got narcolepsy and I've got diabetes. And so he showed me a piece of paper and that was why. And I said, that's fine. And he started saying, well, you seem to know a lot about nutrition. Can you talk about it a little bit? And he said, my doctor told me that because I'm diabetic, that I need to eat breakfast every day. I said, your doctor, a diabetes doctor, told you that. And he said, and I never feel good after I eat breakfast. I feel tired. I don't feel good. I said, then don't eat it. I said, we started talking about diabetes, and I said, are you taking insulin? He said, yes. I said, you realize anybody, if you yourself or you have a relative that's on insulin for diabetes, that is a death sentence. They will die. And I will stand by that statement. Because what happens is as the years go by, or the months, they're going to go up and up on the dose of insulin. Because insulin makes diabetes worse. All insulin does is treat the symptoms of diabetes, but it makes the disease worse. Using insulin to treat diabetes is insane. It's like using alcohol to treat alcoholics. You only cure the symptoms. Same with high blood pressure medication, hypertension. All you do is lower the blood pressure. You're treating the symptoms, but you're making the chance of strokes and heart attacks actually go higher. That's another story altogether. Doctors are in the business of treating symptoms, not the disease. I could talk about that a long time. I know this. Well, anyway, this young man, I talked to him. I said, have you ever gone a day and not eating? He said, no, I'm diabetic. I can't do that. I said, sure you can do it. I said, the definition of diabetes is high blood glucose, high blood sugar, not low. And when it's already high and you eat breakfast, it's going to go higher. That's why you feel so bad. I said, do me a favor and don't eat for a day. And then the next day you can eat what you want. And then the next day, don't eat again. It's called alternate day fasting. On the days you eat, you can eat more. You can eat 3 meals a day, 5 meals a day. You probably won't eat twice as much, but you can eat more. Well, to make a long story short, in the course of 4 months, the guy lost 100 pounds. His diabetes completely went away. His vision came back completely, no glasses. It completely cures vision. So I am supposed to eat 6 small deals a day. Remind me, Beth, that is like horrible advice that's giving you that advice, and I'll talk about why that is. The person that told you that knows nothing about nutrition and health. I don't care what their degree is. They do not know that. That's horrible advice, and we'll talk about it in a minute. But so he said the first day he didn't eat, he got sick. Even for type 1 diabetes, there's actually 4 types of diabetes. And remind me of that, who's at Arizona. We'll talk about that. That's a little bit different because that's an autoimmune disease. But there's even some evidence that spreading the meals out helps with type 1. Type 1's a little bit different. But anyway, he said the first day he didn't eat, he was sick. He threw up. He didn't feel good. It was terrible. And everybody's saying, oh, you need to eat. And he said he didn't do it. So he said the second day he felt a little better, but he ate, but he didn't eat twice as much. And then the next day he didn't eat again. He said he didn't feel as bad, but he made it. During the course of the semester, he went day on, day off, day on, day off. And it completely changed his lifestyle, everything. It didn't even look like the same person anymore. He went back to his doctor. The doctor said, somebody says, I do intermittent fasting. Oh, it's very good for you. This doctor said, well, what are you doing? The doctor said, well, my anatomy instructor told me to only eat every other day. And the doctor said, is that guy an MD? And he said, no, I'm not an MD. I'm a PhD, I'm not an MD. Not gonna pass myself off as one. But once again, I'm not a respecter of titles. Just because somebody has a degree doesn't mean they know. It means they're supposed to know. But anyway, that guy says you should not take medical advice unless they're an MD. And he said that what you did was bad for you. And I asked this guy, I said, do you even go to this doctor anymore? Are you kidding me? Bad for you? Look at you. He said, I don't go to him anymore. He said I was so mad at the advice he was giving me for years. And all he did was change his nutrition lifestyle. What insulin does, it's complicated and I don't have time to go into it tonight. In the next lecture, we'll go into it. But when you eat, glucose level goes up, which means blood sugar. Insulin is secreted by the pancreas and there's insulin receptors on cells. They detect insulin if the receptors work properly, and the cell takes in glucose. Glucose for us is like gasoline to a car. We run on glucose. Glucose level goes to zero. We die in a few minutes, but that body won't let that happen. So the glucose goes inside of the cell, your glucose level, blood sugar level goes down, everything functions fine. But what happens is that insulin over time in some people will start damaging the insulin receptors on cells. They start burning out. And so your pancreas starts making more and more insulin. Pretty soon you can have pancreatic cancer, or your pancreas can totally shut down. And pretty soon you have enough insulin receptors on the cell that are damaged that cell will die. It can't take in the glucose from the outside because the insulin receptors don't work. So what do? They give you insulin, external insulin, to overwhelm your body with so much insulin that the few remaining receptors on your cells respond to the insulin, and they take in glucose. Your glucose level goes down, and you do an A1C test, and it's normal, and the doctor says, see, we're treating your diabetes. They are. Your glucose level goes down, you feel better, you function better. But what's happening with this extra insulin? It's burning out the remaining receptors. So talk to anybody on insulin. They go up on the dose every 6 months. And at some point, medicine is going to tell you, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do, and that person dies. This is the way you die. You go blind, you have legs and arms amputated, and you just end up falling apart. What caused the diabetes? Insulin. What are they using to treat the diabetes? Insulin. It's insane. All you're trying to do is lower blood sugar. Not eating lowers blood glucose level. It's as simple as that, even in type 1 diabetics. Even in type 1 diabetics where the pancreas doesn't make any insulin. Actually, it makes some. There's more than type 1 and 2. There's in between types. But even in that instance, your glucose will start dropping. Now, type 1 diabetics have to take some insulin. That's sort of a different story, but they don't have to take it 3 times a day. If you eat once a day, which is healthy, if you eat enough fruits and vegetables in a bigger meal, then you don't have to take insulin 3 meals a day. Hormone replacement, insulin is a hormone. And I stand by this statement. If you find anything that shows opposite, let me know. Hormone replacement, there's hundreds of hormones your body uses, has temporary benefits. Any hormone, insulin, estrogen, testosterone, which builds muscle, makes you feel better, human growth hormone, any of them that you take temporarily has a benefit, but in the long run, it's a detriment. But what happens is people look at the temporary and they say, oh, look, I'm better. But the hormone is shortening your lifespan. It's damaging the cell. It's accelerating aging. All hormones work like that. Yeah, with the exception of melatonin. I don't have time to go with that. The melatonin is over the counter. It's not the kind your pineal gland makes in the brain. It's a little bit different. But I've never seen any evidence that a lot of melatonin actually can damage you. But diabetes is a whole different issue. We can get a lot of detail on it. I can quote studies, etc. But there's just so much, and we'll get into a lot of that in this class. A lot of the videos I've selected actually talk about this. I think you'll find them very interesting. But I'm a big believer on if you know somebody on insulin, you need to try to get them off insulin. Maybe they tried glucophage or metformin first. I don't know if you're familiar with drugs. Those do work. And they're not harmful because they're plant-based, but those mimic eating less. They're even beneficial if you're non-diabetic. There's studies on that, but doctors don't really address that. They treat the symptoms. And the reason spreading meals out or eating every other day or dropping glucose level improves your eyesight, and I know this for a fact because I've done it, is because one of the first symptoms of diabetes is actually blurry vision, is because the glycoproteins are damaged the insides of the eyes, the arteries in the eyes, and they also build up in the lens of the eye, glycoproteins, which is your glucose level being too high combining with protein, and it's like little shards of glass circulating around your body. That's a whole other area. Uh, so this Congress try to get metformin subsidized due to price. I agree with that. I've tried metformin or glucophage, which is generic for metformin, bought it over the internet, tried it. I actually felt better, even though I'm not diabetic, because it's not harmful. It has a lot of benefits, tons of benefits. It's made from a plant. I actually had it seized by the FDA once because it's like a white powder in a little pill. Because I bought it in an overseas pharmacy and they thought it was cocaine or heroin or something. It was a joke. They seized one of the packages. The guy showed up at my door, and he's from the U.S. Postal Inspection or something. They had some other officer. It says, "Is this yours?" I said, "Yeah." And he says, "Well, blah, 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 blah. We tested it in the lab, and we found out that it wasn't a drug. It was metformin." I said, "Actually, it's glucophage, not metformin." He didn't know. And then he said, he had his little card. This is police officers or FBI, I don't know who he was. But anyway, he said, "Are you a diabetic?" I said, "No." He said, "Then why are you taking glucophage?" And I said, I could be a smartass. I said, "Are you a nutritionist? Are you an MD? Do you understand what glucophage does?" He says, "No, but it should only be taken by diabetics." I said, "Absolutely not. That's like saying only overweight people should exercise. Thin people should exercise too. It's very beneficial for anybody because it lowers blood sugar level and it does a variety of other things. So that's why I buy it, and it's cheaper to buy it overseas because I'm not diabetic. That's why I can't even get a prescription for it here. But anyway, I give them a hard time. Maybe they're going to arrest me. They didn't. But anyway, that's why you have to stand up for what you know. And I'm not trying to be facetious, guys, or arrogant, but I know nutrition inside and out. All the vitamins, the studies, what's going on with the body. I know cellular biology, and there's such confusion about it and there's such misinformation about it. It just blows my mind. And the person that messaged, and we're almost done here, that said that they're giving advice to eat 5-6 little meals a day. Now, can you be healthy and eat 3 meals a day or 5-6 little meals a day? Yeah, you can, if you don't overeat, and heredity's being kind to you. But you're not going to be as healthy as you could be by having more time between the meals because of apoptosis, autophagy, a lot of things. But the problem with eating 5-6 little meals a day, even if they're healthy and you don't overeat, is that your glucose level stays normal. And when glucose level stays normal and doesn't oscillate much, then that's lack of hormesis. Hormesis means stress. Stress that makes you stronger. You need glucose level to oscillate. You eat a bunch, it goes up. You don't eat for a day or two, it goes down. Not dangerously low. It may feel like it, but your body doesn't let that happen. Then you eat, it goes up. That's oscillation. But 5-6 little meals a day is not enough oscillation. Every system in your body needs oscillation to be healthy. How do you make your heart stronger? Keep it normal heart rate all the time? No, ridiculous. You walk, you run, you get on the treadmill. Heart rate goes up. When you sleep, it goes down. Your heart rate oscillates. You need to stress it by working out. That's called hormesis. Stress that makes you stronger. How do you make your muscles stronger, bones stronger? You lift weights, you walk, you work out. That's stress that makes you stronger. How do you make your immune system stronger? You get sick, you build up antibodies. That's stress that makes you stronger. Just like people that have COVID, their immune system is pretty strong if they've actually had the disease because now they have the antibodies for it. And the same is true for nutrition. It's true that when you spread meals out and glucose level drops, you're under stress. You have a headache, you don't feel good. The cells are adapting. There's a lot of things happening at the deeper level that you're not aware of. And 3 meals a day is not enough oscillation. It doesn't work like that. Cancer, the studies on cancer show that, and that's where people get real confused about nutrition. They absolutely do not understand. And I don't have time to go into it, but on the next lecture, we're going to talk about the misconception of good food, bad food, no such thing. Some food, when they talk about good food, bad food, I don't even know what they mean. You can't, what's a good food, what's a bad food? I mean, if you're starving to death, should you eat a hamburger? That's classified as a bad food. No, it's not a bad food. The food is only good or bad based upon your glucose level. If your glucose level is low, all food's good for you. None of it's going to go to fat cells. If your glucose level is normal or high, all food's bad for you, including an apple. You're not going to gain much weight from it. An apple has no fat, but if your glucose level is normal and you eat an apple, that glucose is converted to fat and put in your fat cells. So the apple is a bad food. No, it's only a bad food because you ate it when your glucose level was normal or high. It's not the food. You cannot analyze food without analyzing the person first. But yet they try to do that. Restaurant dietitians do this. Write down everything you ate. When is this? You can't analyze that. You have to know what your glucose level is, how the food affects you. That's why the books are all wrong. 3,500 calories equals a pound. That's approximately. But if you've been eating for a couple of days, you eat 3,500 calories, you're not going to gain a pound. Temporarily, you have some weight from the food, but none of it's going to go to fat cells. So you won't gain any weight at all, just temporarily. But real weight, you don't gain. If your glucose level is normal and you eat 3,500 calories, sure enough, you'll gain a pound. So saying 3,500 calories equals a pound, it depends. It depends upon you, not the food. But that's a whole different issue, guys. Okay, we're going to get into much more detail in this. Somebody says, do you have office hours? The best to reach you through email. You can message me in Canvas or send me an email. If you need a private Zoom meeting and you want some more detail, I can actually set that up. Are you run into some problems? Always send me a message in Canvas. Anybody that wants to meet with me, I'm willing to do that. The main thing you need to do now is get with other students in the class. Like even in here, you can message each other and work on the study guides together. Say, I work this one, you work that one, you work this one, that one. That'll take a large burden of what you have to do in this class away. There's 20-something study guides, there's 20-something people in the class. You literally could have each person do one study guide, literally. And you have to all get together and do that. You can email each other, you can chat with each other, that kind of stuff. It's much easier to do that, or at least get with 3 or 4 other people and have a group where somebody will work 4 and somebody else works 4 of them, et cetera, and exchange them. But I've already run like overtime. I try to keep these like within an hour, but I don't mind any detailed questions. You know, you're going to tell people, oh, this instructor at Valley College told me this, but my doctor's telling something different. I welcome disagreement as long as it's friendly and the person has an open mind. I like to consider myself open-minded. I'm not political. I'm not Democrat or Republican. I'm neither. I just don't listen to the news. I don't pay attention to it much. I'm more interested in like health and that kind of stuff. I don't have time to get in some argument about stupid stuff. But you can always, ask me anything, because I find that there are so many people that are so wrong, even doctors. And I got to end this last story here, and then I'm going to give you the last code. And I'll show you how to take the test. We're almost done here, guys. But I work with cancer patients occasionally. Grade scoring, once again. The way the grades work is that Canvas keeps up with how many points you've earned so far based upon the total number. The total number varies because every now and then I'll exempt an assignment. So it's just like if like after tonight, after you take this 15-point quiz, you get all 15 points, it'll say your grade is 100%. That's great. And so it just keeps your average as you go along. It'll show you what your grade is. Every time you do assignment, it'll show you what your new grade is. So no, that's easy. So who is it? Marissa, you have a question? Yeah.
Is it beneficial for us to do the spotlights together as well, or individually?
Oh, those like Spotlight A and B? No, those are study guides too. It's just the book called them Spotlights. Those are all study guides. I would get with as many people as you can and say, I'm going to do chapter 1, you do chapter 2, you do chapter 3. Somebody else, you do Spotlight A, somebody else Spotlight B. Those are study guides. And remember, you can go to modules at the bottom, study guides, and print them out. And then you got them. And you'll see, oh, there's a question. What's the answer? I don't know. You have to look it up in the ebook. All the answers are in the ebook. because I don't have time to lecture on every single question. Some of those are real detailed, like how many calories in a Big Mac? Who knows? Who cares? A bunch? But that's a stupid question, but it's in there. It's in the book, and so it's on the study guide. I don't expect you to memorize stuff like that. That's why I want you to understand the concepts. But get with somebody, work the study guides and the spotlights together. And that way, it makes the class much easier. Like I said, I had a lot of A's, people that did the bonus assignments, etc. I had people with like C test averages that still made an A, simply because they did the other stuff. So I wouldn't sweat it too much. If you want to make a good grade in this class, you can. The last thing I have to end it with was talking about the last incidents with the cancer patient. Female person I was working with, Beverly Hills Cancer Center, one of the top, which is a good cancer center, but supposedly one of the top in the US, one of the top oncologists. She had stage 3 breast cancer and was having to go through chemotherapy and radiation too. And once you do chemotherapy, they do blood tests afterwards because your vitamin levels will drop, especially vitamin D levels, which can damage the bones a little bit, the chemotherapy. So after a couple of her first 2 radiation treatments, she had her blood test, and I went with her to the doctor to visit. And the doctor said, yes, oh, your blood test, we had that, and you're low in vitamin D, which is, that's a whole nother story in itself. I could do a whole course just talking about vitamin D. She said, so I'm writing you a prescription for D2, which is called ergocalciferol. Anyway, D3 is the kind you buy over the counter. It's called cholecalciferol. It'll say D3. If it just says vitamin D, then it's D3. It's complicated how D works in the body. It involves the liver and the kidneys and all kinds of things. It's kind of acts like a hormone, although it's not. But anyway, D2 is only half as effective as D3. It has to be converted via certain hormones in the liver into vitamin D3, but it's converted at only 50% the rate. So if you take, your cells don't take in D2. They use D3 because it allows them to take in calcium. It's complicated, but anyway. So D2 is only half as effective as D3, yet D2 has to be gotten by a prescription. So I asked the doctor, I said, well, can she just take D3? It's more effective anyway. The doctor knows more about oncology than I do, but she knew nothing about nutrition. She said, well, she can't do that because D2, you can only get it with a prescription. I said, yeah, but you don't need it because it's converted to D3. And D2, the insurance was paying like $200 a bottle for D2 of like 20 tablets. Yet D3 is $8 or $9 a bottle for like 50 tablets. It's a scam. So I researched it on the internet. Sure enough, it's a scam. A lot of doctors are prescribing D2. Why do you think they're prescribing D2? What do you think's going on there? You think Big Pharma is involved and there's money involved? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because they get paid to prescribe it, and you have to get a prescription, etc. A lot of doctors, even the doctor at the same place, the radiologist, he said, yeah, he said, you only need D3. So if you know people paying for D2, research it because it's a waste, and it's only half as effective as D3. There's so many instances of that. It's really sad. I see it all the time, and I see it with nutrition. I see it in medicine. It's corruption beyond belief. And I'm not saying she's intentionally corrupt. Maybe she doesn't know. Maybe she just doesn't know. Sometimes people just don't know. Okay, guys, the last code is 329. So now I'm going to do a screen share. You have your 3 codes. I'm going to go make it. It's 434 is the first one, 233 and 329. So screen share. So I'm gonna always start with the home page. So you're at the home page.
Excuse me, can you repeat code number 2?
Code number 2 is 233.
Okay, 2.
Okay, so I'm gonna go to modules. Remember, if you get lost, go to modules. So I'm going to go to modules. We're in week 1. See conference Zoom. I should say Zoom because they're not conference Zoom anymore. Video conference number 1 quiz. Oh, it's right here. So if I click on this, it'll take me to the quiz. Does everybody see that? Now, I don't know if you see what I see, because yours is a student view. Edit, or just, I do preview. My little box is always in the way. Conference Zoom video quiz. You don't see that. You'll see it like this, preview. It'll ask you for the code. Please enter the code for number 1. Boom, there it is, 434. I think it does 1 question at a time. Like next, please enter number 2, 233. Next. Number 3, please enter the code, 329. Whoa, did I give you the wrong code? I did. Hey guys, make a note of this. Good thing I caught that, because I got a lot of nasty messages. I couldn't tell if that was a 9 or a 4, it was a 4. The 3rd code is 324. Has everybody got that?
Yes.
The 3rd code is 324. So take your quiz, and then when you go to grades, it'll show 100%. Work your assignments. If you run into any problems, send me a message. Okay, guys?
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to end the meeting. Have a good week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.